Here we are. Thanks again, everyone, for showing up. I'm so excited to have you all here again for Align Living Circle, where we align our mind, body, and spirit with the seasonal energies. I really appreciate you all. I say this every time, but I do really appreciate everyone showing up to just like add to the magic and add to the energy of the space, because we are a collective made up of each individual member, and having you all here to like put in your vibes and take part in the collective is really special. So I'm glad y'all come and get your benefits from it. Take a moment wherever you are, whatever you're doing, even for just a second, pause and take a breath. Really breathe into the stomach. Feel your stomach fully expand, and then let it out with a sigh. And then take a moment to really focus on what it is you need right now. What do you need? Is it a word? Is it just a vibe? Is it a color? Focus on what that is you need. And then take a deep breath and just inhale that intention. Let it fill your body. Let it fill your energy field. And take another breath. Let it fill your space. And smile yourself for a moment. And come on back. All right, now, seasonally, what's going on? We have moved past this winter dark period, this introspection, going inward, stillness period, this season. And now we're moving towards spring. We're not quite to spring, but we are past Imbolc, which is the halfway point, which means we'll start to see a lot more life, a lot more nature, a lot more animals just kind of coming out, and nature showing us that life and creation is abundant and everywhere around us. This season is really about growing and building and creating, both in nature and within ourselves. It's the whole thing. Everything out there is in here. So we will dive into our animal allies this week. And first, our first animal ally is Raven. I really love ravens, big fan. So ravens are one of those animals that really has a reputation. They've been seen as everything from omens of death to creators of earth, creators of order, and also protectors. First, let's talk about the Norse tradition. We don't talk a lot about specific traditions, but I thought this one was really appropriate for this week. In the Norse tradition, the god Odin, it's very common, you might have heard of Odin. Odin has two ravens, and their names are Hunin, which translates to thought, and Munin, which means memory. And these are his messengers. They are the divine messengers between the gods and the people of Earth. And this really shows us that ravens connect our past experiences and our current thoughts, and then channel them into how they show up in our physical reality. In nature, ravens have a really wide range of vocalizations. They have the ability to mimic the calls of other birds and actually integrate them into their own language, into their own regular calls. They even learn to speak. They can speak like parrots. They talk. This week, Raven is showing us that sometimes we say and we think things about ourselves that aren't our own words. So much of our own self-perception doesn't come from within ourselves. And right now, take a moment to just think about the hurtful things that you say to yourself. What's one common criticism that you tell yourself? Just reflect for a moment. Maybe you tell yourself you're lazy or too loud, or that you're a bad friend. And ask yourself, is that true? Are you actually those things, or was that thought given to you from someone else? And as we move through this week, be aware of how you speak to yourself and take time to ask yourself, go inward, ask yourself, where did this come from? How did I receive this? Was this handed to me, or did I come to this on my own conclusion? The most prominent feature of ravens, obviously, they're black feathers. They've got the gorgeous black feathers with these hues of purples and blues and even greens. And this color holds a lot of symbolism. Their biggest message for us today is represented in this color. Black is the color of creation, and I know I talk about this a lot, but it's so important. We are born from the black of the womb, right? It's completely black. The universe was born out of the void, and everything in existence came from darkness originally. And this is mirrored within us, right? Our inner world, our imagination is a void that we can use to create our future. All it takes is that spark, our inner big bang, right? To bring to life everything that we want for ourselves. And that spark, that big bang is our magic. So let's talk about magic for a moment. Magic at the most fundamental level is influencing energy to create change. Sometimes we do magic with spells and rituals. Sometimes we do magic through meditation or prayer. Magic can be taking aligned, inspired action. We often think of magic as this big, far off, mystical thing, but magic is in everything we do. Every time we reflect on the bigger picture and we choose to act in alignment with our purpose, that is magic. And as magical beings in a modern world, it can be easy to forget how much power we have. And Raven is here this week to remind us of our spiritual strength, of our ability to create, and that all we need to do magic is to acknowledge that we can and begin putting intention into our everyday actions. And remember that ravens aren't intimidated, right? They aren't often prey. They're not easy prey. Their intelligence and problem solving gives them a lot of confidence, and it should. They're very intelligent. And this is representative of us also being able to weave our magic into life fearlessly and unapologetically. We are our own magicians or high priestess or enchantress or wizard or whatever you align with. We can take thoughts and ideas and shape them to create what we want from them. Today, as this event is happening, it's the day after the full moon in Leo. So magic and confidence are everywhere. But no matter when you're getting this message, expect magic to show up for you. It's all around us right now. And then we'll move into our plant ally for the week, and that is rosemary. Rosemary is really known for her power over the mind, which really does make her the perfect ally for us this week, being in our mind aspect of exploration. She is one of the most important magical herbs historically. She's known as the herb of remembrance, made famous by Shakespeare. And rosemary is called this because of her ability to enhance concentration and to calm the mind, but also because she's connected to grieving and honoring our loved ones and honoring the past. One of her main properties is clearing. Magically, rosemary is a powerful protector and is a great herb for smoke cleansing and protection magic. Medicinally, she's been used to stimulate and release stagnancy in the body. And on a spiritual level, she clears our minds and our spirits, really lifting the weight of the past and allowing us to see our future with clarity. And so, with the energy of Raven's magic and that being created from thought and from memory, Rosemary is here to clear away the chaos and to bring clarity so we can create our magic from a place of alignment. And she is a protector, it's a protective herb. But not only does she protect us energetically, right? This isn't just on a negative vibes or an attachment or a spirit level. We're talking she is protective to our emotions. She really gives us the energy of love and tranquility and healing. And so before we hop into our tools and practices for this week, I want to highly recommend drinking some rosemary tea this week, if you can, if you have it, if you can get it, and if it's safe for you. It's a really great way to bring some magic into your daily life, and with a potion for clarity and peace. What a better way. Drinking some rosemary tea before journaling or doing introspection is a really easy ritual with some powerful results. And we explored a similar ritual last week in Modern Mystic Academy that was really powerful. So if you're interested in how to hold these rituals or diving deeper into your magic in general, it's not too late. You can join us today and you can get access to all of this month's magic. So yeah, you're welcome to join us anytime that you feel called. We would be thrilled to have you. So let's dive into our tools. For today's tools, we are talking about organizing the mind. Doesn't sound so fun, trust me, but it's going to be fine, trust me. So first of all, I really feel like when I create these events, focused around things I'm currently experiencing, I'm seeing in my own life, they have a much bigger impact. They seem to resonate a lot deeper. And so with that, I've noticed myself this week getting really stuck in my thoughts, and I've seen it show up in my friends and in our communities too. We are still in the window of the full moon, which is a very stimulating energy to our minds. So it is the time. It is an energy right now that can create a lot of mental clutter. And so let's talk about rumination. Rumination is a term. It essentially means when we get stuck in repetitive thinking. It can look like dwelling on past situations, what caused them, their consequences. And sometimes we ruminate because we haven't fully processed the pain. And sometimes we ruminate because we feel that if we think hard enough about a situation, if we just play it out one more time, we'll finally make sense of it and have some kind of control over it. And reflecting on the past can be really beneficial if we're focusing on how to do better, how to achieve our goals. But reflecting is different than ruminating. Reflecting becomes ruminating if we get stuck in thought loops. We just keep coming back to the same situations without being able to make any changes, without feeling better about it, just coming right back. That would be how I would personally differentiate those things. So let's look at some of the ways that rumination can manifest. It may look like, as we said, thinking over a situation, asking yourself, why did it happen? Why does that person feel the way they do? Or how can we fix this? How can we prevent this from happening again? Rumination can also look like thoughts that keep coming up even when we don't want them to, even when we're trying not to think about things and they keep coming in, kind of like an intrusive, involuntary thought. That can be rumination too. When we're really stuck in these thought loops, if we're kind of running on a rumination energy, we may have trouble sleeping. We may sit there all night thinking about that one dumb thing you said in the second grade. Guilty, I know, but it's very common. We may also, during the day, have trouble focusing. We may feel overwhelmed. We may have headaches, stomach aches, muscle soreness. And rumination can be more common in those of us who are a little bit more critical of ourselves in general, and those of us with perfectionistic tendencies. Also guilty. Also, before we dive into the tips, tools, tricks, keep in mind that I'm not a doctor. I'm not a licensed medical professional, so take everything I say as something to consider. Do your own exploration and whatever's right for you on that front. But here is what I have for you. Some ways to overcome these stuck in thoughts, rumination spaces. First is distraction. And I know that sounds annoying, but trust me, okay? When we're really stuck in repetitive thoughts, distracting ourselves with, more positive thoughts or memories can really kind of clear them away. And this doesn't mean just like, it doesn't always mean just telling yourself, I'm not going to think about that and choosing to think of something else. It can be calling a friend, right? That's always super helpful. It can be listening to music that makes you feel good, or reading a book, or watching a movie you like, cleaning your home. I cannot tell you how many times I've been so stressed out, and then I just organize my desk and I'm like, oh, I feel great. Like sometimes it just takes a little bit of distraction, a little bit of pivoting in the mind to really kind of break out of that loop. So, our second tip here is physical movement. Whether it's exercising, stretching, yoga, qigong, EFT tapping, or just simply shaking out your body. We've done that in this event where we just kind of shake. That's a really good way to reset our minds. For me personally, it feels like when I'm stretching or shaking or moving intentionally, even unintentionally, I'm sort of energetically sorting out or throwing out the negative feelings just right out of my body. And especially if you put the intention in there, it can be really good. A good stand up and wiggle around and walk around the room and come back. And speaking of walking around, our third tip is to change your environment. This one has been surprisingly powerful for me. When you're overwhelmed with thoughts, try just going for a walk or even just moving to a different room on a psychological and energetic level. Moving out of the space where you were feeling really stressed allows you to break out of that energy and shift your thoughts more easily. I'm trying to think of a good metaphor. It's right on the tip of my tongue. But yeah, it's like if you're in a space that you've created all of these stressful thoughts, all these stressful thoughts have come up and they're stuck in your mind, just leave them in the room. Just get up, walk out, go somewhere else. It does really help. Then our fourth tip is journaling. So when we take the thoughts that are just spinning around in our heads and we put it down on paper, it really allows our brains to feel like we don't have to hold on to it anymore. I feel like sometimes the brain is just like, no, we can't forget, we can't forget. So we hold on to it. But if you put it down, it's like telling your brain, all right, it's taken care of. And it can really also help us get clarity and to gain perspective on our situation, what we're ruminating about. If we take the time to actually write it out, that goes a lot slower than our brains go, and it can bring a lot of clarity. And our final tip, number 5, is mindfulness. Mindfulness, if you don't know, is the practice of intentionally focusing on the external world rather than our thoughts. This can also look like our senses, tuning into our physical senses. You can just you want to look at what's right in front of you, see what's around you, take it all in, actually truly look at it. What does it look like? What does the air feel like? What does this surface underneath you that you're sitting on feel like? What do you smell? These are all questions we can ask ourselves to ground into mindfulness. And it can be hard, right? It can be hard, especially if we're really deep in our thoughts or we don't practice mindfulness often. It's similar to meditation. It's a skill that you can build over time with some training, like a muscle. So taking mindfulness walks is a really, really great tool. I know it's cold personally. My favorite mindfulness activity when I still drove, I loved to practice mindfulness while driving, just like doing my driving thing, whatever, but like really looking, do I see a bird? What does that bird look like? What do these trees look like against the sky? What colors do I see? What's the different weather look like today? It's a simple exercise, but it is really clearing of the mind. It just kind of quiets those thoughts. And it's a good, peaceful moment if you've really been stuck in rumination. Also, say if you want to practice mindfulness, but you're really struggling with that, you can always try journaling first to, again, let out all of those thoughts, put them down on paper, tell your brain it's okay. I'm going to put these here, and then you just go. You just go, have your time, and just be mindful. Listen to your senses, not your brain. And so as you go throughout this week, remember Raven's lesson about being aware of where our thoughts originated. You are not defined by what others think. The only effect it has is that it sometimes creates limitations that we put on ourselves because of them. Because we are full of magic and we have the ability to create whatever life we want. We just sometimes forget. And call on Rosemary for clarity. Drink a tea. Bring her smell into your space. There's plenty of essential oils and candles and things. Intentionally call her in one way or another and just ask to clear away the chaos. I highly recommend a rosemary tea before journaling. Ooh, works wonders. And finally, you also have these amazing communities to support you. These are really beautiful spaces, and we aren't on individual journeys alone. We are on individual journeys together, and that's a much more beautiful space.